questions we did actually ask you last time in the interview, but this one's more so just focused on healthy behaviors and like lifestyle choices and habits you have and things like that. So the first one, do you exercise regularly?
I try to exercise between two to three times a week at most. I'm currently receiving physical therapy right now, twice a week. So besides that, I try to do more,
Nice.
on my own. So.
If you had to describe the intensity of the times you work out on your own, what would you say about it? Pretty tough?
I think it's pretty, well, it depends.
Mm-hmm.
I can get pretty intense with help versus just by myself.
Right.
Because there's a lot of switching now, the weights, or any equipment that I'm using. So if I have to do it myself, it brings down the intensity level because I'm resting too much just to put on the weights or any of those things, changing out. Versus, let's say you're here with me and you're switching me out and you're doing everything so quick. My body's still trying to recover from the last workout. And you're not allowing me to. And my therapist does that. I even told her, look, when we're working out, give me at least like a minute of rest, and that's it. Mm-hmm. Because then I'll go longer than that, cool off my body, and there's really I consider it no results. You gotta keep going.
Right. Do you only exercise with the dumbbells, or do you do any other kind of exercise also?
Pushing the wheelchair is one. I try to keep it where the distance isn't too much on my shoulders, because then there's a lot of the streets shift. It could be sideways, and you'll start working out one arm more than the other, so you get more fatigued versus having something that's more straight away, and you're actually putting effort on both shoulders.
You don't smoke, do you?
Yeah. Not at all.
And I like alcohol.
Alcohol? Occasionally, like maybe once every 3 months, 4 months. I mean, special occasions, I would say.
I feel like you get adequate sleep per night. Does your sleep get interrupted? Sleep well? How's that going?
Sleeping is an issue, big time, because there's quite a lot. Once you're in the situation, everything becomes mental. Everything you do is mental. So if you didn't finish something throughout the day, then you'll try to somehow try to finish it if you can. So sleeping just, I have to really, really unwind. It's hard sometimes. It's not easy. Sometimes it's like 2, 3 in the morning. I have to really, really get comfortable and just focus to go to sleep.
Do you feel like that's because you're just busy during the day? And
Yeah.
then finally, time to shut off is hard.
Yeah, that's hard. Especially with a lot going on. My mother just passed away. So thank you, Chris. So with so much going on, there's coping here, adjusting over here. So, and like I said, it's everything's mental. It could be a little bit physical here and there, but everything's more mental because I'm here by myself. So 4 walls try to close in on you, and sometimes you just have to kind of find a way to not let them.
So on average, about your sleep, you said it's been pretty rough, but on average per night, would you say it's?
I would say
how many hours?
At least 4 hours, and at most 6, maybe sometimes 8. Okay. But 6 is like right in the middle of every day. That's as much sleep as I get.
How are your eating habits?
Mm.
Do you eat mostly healthy meals, cooked meals at home, or what is that?
I think it depends. Well, with me, with my financial status, I think I eat more at home. And I think it's a little bit better considering that I'm taking cholesterol medication, high cholesterol. So everything that I try to do at home it has to be at a healthy level because I don't move a lot. Metabolism is really low, so I don't burn calories as much. And even though I'm not overweight or anything, my body's not processing. And then that's where constipation also comes. Right. So it's something that I don't eat a lot also. If anything, I eat maybe twice a day. 3 times a day would be probably too much for me.
So, do you have any anxiety or stress? I remember one of your medications you mentioned was for anxiety.
Yeah, I struggle with anxiety. I don't think I have depression. I've tried analyzing it. I also spoke to counselors just so they could maybe pick my brain. Maybe I am and I'm ignoring it, or or just not noticing it, I guess. But anxiety does, because I get very frustrated when things are not completed or things that I just leave off, and I start beating myself up on there. So that's where I've learned to not just to be too hard on myself, because there's only so much you can do in one day.
So, how specifically, what are your ways to cope? I mean, you got a lot going on right now. What ways do you find to cope? And you mentioned, especially when you're trying to sleep, you kind of have to try to shut down even it's hard. What ways do you manage to do that?
One of the ways, which it's not something that I do regular, is I do take the anxiety medication, which is Xanax. It does help, but it's not something that I do at all. If I have anything, I'll do it maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks. It just depends. If I'm really, really tired, I'm just fed up with, all right, I can't do this anymore. I'll drink one, which is a very, very low dose, which is the lowest dose is 0.5. And that's it. The next morning I wake up all groggy. I don't like that feeling. I like to wake up and start, So besides that, I try to, try to find something to stay productive. YouTube is one. Partial little business I have is over here with, being an Old Republic, graphic designing. So anything that I can just stay busy. Mm-hmm. Projects keep me busy and keep me motivated.
Mm-hmm. Just out of curiosity, do you set kind of like daily, do you set goals for yourself and try to reach those goals as far as being productive? Do you set milestones, or maybe a goal for a day, I want to get this done with this project I'm working on?
Right. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I grab the phone and I write down little notes for tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I've tried setting them up with Google Home, but it reminds me, but I don't do them. Versus my phone, the list is just there. It just doesn't come. It's kind of like, okay, I still didn't do this, so I didn't do that. So I start, getting things done for the next day. Yeah. It really helps. It supports me in the sense where I don't lose track of some of the things that I need to do. Yeah. And I feel better because once I know that the list is gone, it's like, what else do I do? But I feel a little bit more calm that it's not rushing me all the time. So.
Do you practice or do you participate in any activities within the community? You mentioned the wheelchair race.
Right.
Yes, that was yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday. Even though it's once a year, it's good. But of course, once a year is nothing compared to the rest of it, Right. So the most important part is to try and stay either busy with what you're doing at home, or if you're going to continue with, training throughout the years, that's another one that you can make a goal out of it. It doesn't have to be super intense just to keep up with, yourself. Because yesterday I could say I trained very little. Even though I've been having therapy twice a week for the past 4 months, nothing compared to what this hand cycle did yesterday. Because it was a 5K run. I was supposed to do only a 1 mile, and I did the 5K. And
nice.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
You feel it?
Yeah. No, I felt it this morning. And, I was really, really bad. I had to take an ibuprofen just to calm my body a little bit, because it was probably in shock. It was just like, what did you do?
Yeah. Well, congrats, that's cool.
Thank you.
So is there any other stuff within the community that you do throughout the whole year, or?
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it to you guys that I'm the president of Car Club. That's another one that I try to bring in my life, which part of learning from the club isn't just to have cars. It's part of leadership and the people skills. There's quite a lot of fields. It's like a business, right? And once I step over that and I find out what I can use an organization to either help the community or somebody, whether it's in the club or out, I always try to see if, there's more that I can do, not just for myself, but for others. So there's charities, there's fundraisers, there's a bunch of other things, So you always try to just step over boundaries, not just stay with one and then expect us to be that, you try to put more goals in front.
That's good.
Do you have any health habits or habits that you might consider unhealthy or a little bit detrimental to your overall health? And that can be nutrition, but it can also be other things, not just food.
Yes. I think I've been kind of analyzing that a little bit because it really slows you down. Being in this condition slows you down so much that mentally, even living by yourself, you start being negative about certain things. And those are the negative thoughts that you always try to fight, And I could probably not get out of bed, just stay in bed, work on the computer, which it's okay, but not for so long and not every day. Because then you start losing a lot of, whether it's your health, starts kind of deteriorating. You lose a lot of strength and then you just kind of go down. Now you become very antisocial, I would say. And that really draws a line between you and the outside world. And it's very depressing because I've seen it. I've seen it where it tries to pull you and then destroy you completely. And then what I did was I just looked at it, laughed, and I was like, okay, I'm not going there, So it's something that I have to continue reminding myself that even though I'm in this condition, there's far more people dealing with the same thing and probably more complicated. I've seen cases of children having some real bad diseases and they're still, moving around, trying to do everything they can. So what's my excuse? So there's things that, yes, mentally is where it really, really challenges you every day. So getting out of bed is one. So I don't stay there all the time. And staying social, staying out, being, around people, positive people. That's a big one because continue to start being around people who drink, do drugs, either steal, that comes back to you as well. So
has that happened to you?
Yes, I've come across people that are like that, and it does kind of influence you because at some point I started noticing I was drinking a little bit more. There was more parties around here, and I was like, no, this is not for me. Especially in my condition. People can actually hurt me and do bad. So I was like, no, I need to stop that. But of course, when I did, everything got quiet. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, well now I got to deal with this because quietness is very, very torturing sometimes. I leave the TV on at nights, one light just in case of an emergency. So I have to set up to where, I don't feel too alone or, depress myself, I guess.
You sort of touched on this right now, but do the healthy behaviors of your peers or people that surround yourself with influence any of your behaviors?
Yeah, there's a couple of people, which is why one of the reasons that I started the club was I'm a card guy and I wanted to create a circle where I could relate to people as far as my way of thinking and who I am spiritually even. So that puts me in a very like a safe zone. I've cut people from my life, just for various reasons.
How often do you meet with the card club?
We stay in touch through Facebook, Messenger. But if we do maybe once or twice a month, and I try not to do it too much because it can create this like snowball effect where I will be pulling them out of their own personal time just for the club. And that's wrong because I've seen where they begin growing their families or kids. Yeah, I'm not about to do that. The club is not for that. The club is to, to help out, support, and then if we have a chance, hang out. So
that's cool. I like that. That's cool. Last time I think when we talked, you mentioned that sometimes you have someone come and help you out.
Right.
Does that person have a positive influence on maybe health behaviors, positive health behaviors?
Like provider services?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. That's a big one because I don't know if I told you guys that my videos got deleted. Okay,
From your
so
first
yeah.
cover.
So of course, with that happening, I made sure that whoever was going to be in here was going to be a very, very good person and for a very good purpose because they know way too much of me. I become extremely vulnerable to everything, and that's scary because you're giving this person literally everything. It's like, hey, here I am. You could cause quite damage to me. So when I got my provider, she was actually the first provider I ever had from the beginning of my injury. So she saw me when I couldn't talk. I wouldn't get out of bed. I was in a hospital bed in my mom's house. And she's back. So I was really, really happy with that. Rotation is a big thing. You don't want to overwork one person. 7 days a week is quite a lot for one person to do. So it's always best to have maybe 2 or 3 a week just to kind of balance out.
So does having a provider come to your house affect like the food you eat, certain activities you do, or anything like that?
Yes, it does, because they have to try and understand and support what you do. Because if I tell her, hey, my cholesterol is high, obviously she needs to look for something more healthier to feed me, because, since most providers are a bit of they have that age where they're 50s, 60s. They're very dedicated to the work, but the thing is, they have the eating habits of eating Mexican food, and that's it's good, but it's bad. But she understands, and I try to tell them what type of menu I can eat, so they get an idea. So I'm always trying to educate them so they can understand me. I've had plenty of times where I have to take care of what I eat because I have a very, very sensitive digestive system where if the food is expired or just bad, that's it. I'm going to have accidents throughout the day. It's a very, very situation, sorry. But it's bad. So I try to let them know, hey, please take care of what you're feeding me as well. Check the expiration dates. Don't put me in a position where I have to go at 2, 3 in the morning to the hospital because I had an accident, when I was asleep. And I'm not going to lay there for like another 6, 7 hours until you get here, So I try to, give them a heads up on that. But, my doctors check me every 6 months. So they check my blood, they check my iron, they check everything. And everything comes back. The only thing that did come back bad was cholesterol. So.
Are there any other healthcare professionals that influence your behavior choices? Do your doctors educate you or anything like that?
I wish.
Or is it more internal?
Yeah, I think it's more internal because I used to have 2 doctors that were very, very attentive when it came to me and my disability. Educating people with spinal cord injuries is really, really difficult. I've ended up at the hospital, been called a paraplegic from a doctor. So that really sucked because you would consider, hey, know the level of injuries, from C7 and up to C1, it's quad. And of course, lower is a para, they have more function. So Dr. Spear, which he was my neurological doctor, he took off. So I was left only with my urologist, which they're cousins and they're great doctors. But there's been more other doctors that were always keeping up with me.
Aside from just the exercising you do as a PT, then anything else to help you, or is it basically just strictly exercise? Do they talk about anything else or health behaviors that might be beneficial?
As far as it goes, some of it can be repetitive and it shouldn't, because then you feel like you're just stuck right there. It's like that plateau that they call it. And I would want, not necessarily that I know that I'm going to walk, but just to switch it up a little bit, find out more of what I can do. Because when I got into this thing, things hurt that I didn't think they would. So I was like, whoa, that's something that I wish my therapist would say, hey, let's go outside and let's push the handsack a bit. And of course, I'm a nice guy. I don't like to force people to do things I feel.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not growing on them. So I'm like, all right.
Sure. Well, it's easy to tell you're nice. Do you feel that that discrimination is an issue that you have to deal with?
Yeah, pretty often. And it could be something very minimal to something very serious. There's really no consideration. It could be in a restaurant. It could be just out on the street. And what I mean by that is they'll walk past by you. They won't acknowledge you there. You know, it could be opening the door, and as soon as you're trying to get in, the door closes, and then you notice it. Like, all right, I guess I'm not in the picture right here. You can't see me. Some people don't know the limits of what they're saying. So I've had people be like, "Oh, well, if I was in your situation, I would have killed myself." And you don't say that to people, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, luckily they said it to me because I wouldn't do that.
Yes.
But I do try to tell them, look, you can't look at it that way, you know. I know you probably can't see it, but, you know, I try to give them my point of view, how I see things. Because it's bad, but it's just the way you look at it. When you see me in a wheelchair in Presidential Car Club, you know, I had people just turn around and walk away. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever that means, you know, I know that I'm not up to standards to certain people because of what I look like, you know. And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm very normal. I'm very much like you, but just in a very broken situation that I didn't want to be. But, of course, making them understand that it's just impossible. It's complicated, but I try to listen more to people's reactions once they're wrong. And then I'll just kind of like analyze it and be like, all right, I know how far this is going to go and who's going to do probably what. And then I just kind of step back. It hasn't depressed me. It hasn't made me feel lesser. It just helps me be more cautious about people because not everybody's good. Not every guy in a wheelchair is going to be a nice guy. I've come across guys in wheelchairs that are very rude, you know, so I've told my friends, just because I'm nice, don't think that the other guy's going to be nice, you know. They're going to be different. I've come across it.
I like that a lot. That you mentioned that you just try to listen to people. You know?
Yeah.
And I feel like if other people did that, then it would just be better for everyone. You know.
Yeah. And some people don't have a very good open communication. And they're the ones that could be able-bodied and they're very, very antisocial. Or they have literally no sense of care. So, you know, there's all types of sort of people. Yeah. There's good and bad in everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
So, are there any further modifications that you think you could make to help any health behaviors, such as modifications to your home or anything like that you could think of?
Not really. I think depending on the level of injury and what you're willing to challenge yourself with, I think the less you have, the more you gain. Because if you have a lot to help you with,
you become more dependent.
And I noticed that when my ex was here, she was pretty much doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wrong to leave, even if it could be a spouse, it could be a girlfriend, it could be mom, aunt, whoever. They could be doing so much for you that you're really, really, like, how can I say, you're applying too much on something that's going to really just leave you one day. You know, and that's what happened to me. Once my ex left, I was like, oh crap, what do I do? How do I do this? Like, you know, I'm not used to this. And crying, I had to, you know, start doing all sorts of things. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, it's not that bad. And I never really thought about it. But, you know, people had asked me before, like, would you recommend living alone? And I'm like, not for everybody. Because time alone is a lot of thinking. And you could be doing something that you shouldn't. And you could create more health issues for yourself. So motivation for me is just to stay active with what can drain me, not just mentally, but physically. So motivation is pretty big on that.
So we've talked about how you want to get more active in with the handbike and stuff. As far as doing anything independently without having someone around, are there going to be any major barriers to that, or any other major barriers to other positive health behaviors that you foresee?
Even though this hand cycle requires more strength than what I could probably do for myself to put it on. I mean, I know that there's as a matter of fact, my provider asked me, should I put it away? And I was like, no, I should do it. And she's like, why? You already done with the race? I'm like, it's gotta stay out there and it's gotta push me. It's like, hey, I'm right here. You know, you're gonna use me or what's gonna happen? So I know I gotta figure it out. And it's not gonna be easy, it's gonna take time. But it's gonna happen eventually. I know.
Yeah.
I'll have enough time to just try to put it on and then next thing you know it's on. So I'm very, very, very stubborn with positive things. So they'll be away.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Being stubborn about that stuff.
Yeah. I like your motivation. For sure.
Thank you.
It's encouraging.
Thank you.
That's great.
It's exhausting though. But
I can
that's
imagine.
like,